Now we're going to have a look at editing multiple frames and what's known as onion skinning. You've probably noticed that Flash only allows us to edit the contents of one keyframe at a time. And to demonstrate this, I've set up a Flash file with a tween that happens over 3 keyframes. It's called editmultipleframes.fla, and it's sitting in your work files folder. In this file, the red ball moves over, and then it moves up. Now imagine that you've set up this animation, and later on down the track you decide that the ball is in the wrong vertical position. Say we want to move this whole thing in the down direction. Even if you click and drag to select all of these frames, and then move the object, the change is only applied to the keyframe at which the playhead is sitting. So now, you have to go and move your object at every keyframe separately. But really, you don't have to, because Flash has a mode that lets us edit multiple frames simultaneously. Look here at the bottom of the timeline and locate the Edit Multiple Frames button, and hit that now. The first thing you might notice is that 2 markers appear at the top. These signify the range in which you are allowed to make changes. You can grab these and drag them. So let's take them out to the ends of our tweens. And now you can see 3 copies of our ball. These are the positions of the ball at each keyframe. Hold the Shift key down to multiple select these, and now you can move the contents of each frame at the same time. To see the result, turn off Edit Multiple Frames. Now the whole thing is moved. Now when you move the playhead around, you might notice that these markers move as well. This is because Flash keeps the markers at a certain position relative to the playhead. This can be changed though by looking under the Modify Onion Markers button here. We have a few options, and one of them is Anchor Onion. Select that, and the markers don't move anymore. The rest of the options are Always Show Markers, which will keep them displayed even when you're not editing multiple frames, and a few handy quick settings. Onion 2 will position the markers at 2 frames before and 2 frames after the playhead. Or you can pick 5, or Onion All. Onion All would just keep the markers right at the ends. Okay, we have 2 buttons left here at the bottom of the timeline, so let's finish up with them. The first one here is Onion Skin, which basically gives us a graphical display of where the ball goes during the animation. You can see why they call this onion skin as well. Onions have layers, and each layer of an onion is semi-transparent. If Edit Multiple Frames is still turned on here, the ball will be fully visible in the positions that match the keyframes. Here, here, and here. So you can still select each position, but now we can see what's happening between the positions. And if you're wondering why you can't select the other balls in between, remember that we can only edit things at keyframes. Flash does not allow us to select objects in the middle of tweens. Now the final button here is Onion Skin Outlines. This is a very simple animation, but I'm sure that you can imagine that more complex animations can make it very hard to keep track of things. So, if you have Edit Multiple Frames turned on, this option displays tweened frames as outlines, and then renders keyframes completely. If you're not editing multiple frames, then keyframes are only rendered completely if the playhead is sitting on that keyframe. And that's it for editing multiple frames. Let's move on to the next lesson.